Very good. Thank you so much, everybody, for being here. Super cool to be in this place after such a long time. And as I always say, this place was the house that opened up arms for me when I moved from New York City. Susanna is the one that was like, oh yeah, come here, we can do something together. And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course, we can always do something together. So nowadays, I open a center and we'll be celebrating 4 years actually in a few weeks. So we are super happy that to be able to open another seed of light, but mine is close to my house. So it's in Brickell, between Brickell and Coconut Grove. So if you know anyone that lives in that far location, let me know. It will be a really happy time to receive this person. Anyway, we are going to be talking about detachments. And I was talking to my mother-in-law this morning, and she was like, oh, you're going to talk about what? And I said, detachment, like detachments in a spiritist center. What is it about? Your church is different. Well, as you can see, a lot of Americans have a different understanding what is a spiritist center, and why in a spiritist center you can talk about detachments, and what are detachments. And that's what we are going to be talking about today if you also don't understand it very well. So let's go. To talk about detachments, we have really to understand well what are attachments and why attachments are not very good. We can be attached to a lot of different things, not just material things, but many different things, even feelings. So this first story, I'm going to tell many stories today, but this first story is about an amazing person, but he was attached to anger, this feeling that nowadays even science, the medical doctors tell us that people that have this negative feelings within them become sick. The physical body answers very quickly when you keep these feelings within you. So let's see a little bit about this man. So he was a man averted from society, only enjoyed the moon and the stars. One night during a lonely walk, a woman bumped into him, furious. He asked her if she hadn't seen him walking there. And then she answers him, I'm sorry, sir, I couldn't see you. I am blind. Then immediately he felt ashamed from his rudeness, and then he decided to show her how beautiful is the moonlight. And then she was telling him, I don't know how you're going to do that because I am blind from birth. And then he said, okay, if you could come a little bit close by, I live here and I will try to do my best. And then she went. This man, as you can see, is the very famous Ludwig van Beethoven. And then she went to this little house. He opened one of his windows. He had a piano there. And while he was playing the music for her, of course, he's not going to put the music itself. I stopped the romanticism of my lecture here. I don't know how to fix the skip here, is not working. Too bad. It's the Moonlight Sonata. I hope you guys know which music is that. It's very romantic. Yes, if you have, I could put it here, but I will dismantle the whole system. But it's the Moonlight Sonata. It's very, very beautiful, very touching. And while the music was playing, he started describing to her the feelings that he was having. You know, if you guys can hear, it's very low. but he was describing to her that the beauty of the moonlight, and he was saying that the sun is like this heat that burns your skin, and the light of the moon was that soothing feeling that makes your heart to feel involved in a loving feeling that calms you down and makes you better. And he was telling her that he was always angry and he had a very difficult time to live in society with people. He was not understood by the majority, and that's why he was isolating himself, and he only enjoyed the moonlight, the stars, and the solitude. So this was one of the things that we understood from him as being an angry person and not being able to connect with society. We understand that this is not the solution, because when we isolate ourselves from society, we do not evolve. So we need that, and we need to develop systems to be able to cope with the pain of society. This is a very funny cartoon that was part of my childhood, Donald Duck, and this is the famous Uncle Scrooge. So Uncle Scrooge, as you can see, he was attached to certain things, and were his coins, his money. And when I was a child, I always remember thinking, wow, one day he opened a wrong door and the money came on top of him and he almost died. And I was like, is that possible? How crazy would it be to have so much money? And this is one thing, it's a joke, but actually it could be a reality. And you don't need to be a millionaire to be attached to money. You can have a little bit and be extremely attached to money. It's my. I was talking to friends outside, and we were just talking about something that I will be mentioning in a few minutes. But then I was saying we can also be very charitable. And anyone can be very charitable. Even the ones that have very little, they can donate a little bit of what they have to help others. We will be talking about it. So, what is attachment? So, the dictionary says, is need of unilateral possession, mine. Then the gospel according to Spiritism, in the chapter 16, number 14, it talks about detachment of earthly possessions. Then, what can we be attached to? There are so many things we can be attached to. So many. I put here just a few. So it can be people, relationships, material things, situations, places, period of time. Any of these things we can be attached to. And when I mention attached to, I mean too much. In Spiritism, we learn that everything should be in balance. When we have things in balance, not too much, not too little, it is good. It is smooth and beautiful. Even health-wise, when you love sugar, but you love too much sugar, your body will tell you, do you want to be diabetic? And then you're like, no. So you have to learn to detach from brigadeiros, the delicious Brazilian dessert. The same thing in everything, with salt. And then you can even go to vices, alcohol, and many other things that are really bad for your health. But if you have imbalance, everything goes smooth. The problem is that the balance. Getting the balance, that's the problem. But so let's understand, when you have too much attachment to people, you can develop jealousy. When you love someone, it's beautiful, but when you become jealous And where are you? Where are you going? You didn't answer my phone. This becomes a sickness, and this ends up destroying the relationship. Any relationship, not just husband and wife, but even with your kids or mothers, with the siblings, anything. The same thing to material things, as I already mentioned. The person can become stingy, like it's mine. I don't give to anyone. I don't share. I don't help because I need this. Situations like you connect to something that made you unhappy, and you are not able to move on because you keep thinking about that thing that made you unhappy. Sometimes it's already very far away in the past, but you still think and you feel hurt and you feel angry. Yes, certain things are very difficult for us to move on, but you have to understand, if you keep this so vivid within your heart, it will bring physical problems, as I already mentioned. The places. People become bitter. Oh, when I was living in Brazil, I was so much happier. Then I moved here and I'm so unhappy. This can happen in any place. I'm mentioning Brazil because I'm Brazilian, but I hear people that are my colleagues that are from England and they move to the US and they can't stand. And I always say, listen, you can be happy or unhappy anywhere. It's up to you. Every place we go, there are beautiful things, and there are not beautiful things. Which one you choose? The same concept. There is a little funny story of two wolves. You probably heard of it. Two wolves. One is mean and angry and bad, and the other is like calmer, vegetarian, nicer. And then which one of the wolves is the one that's going to survive after a long time of problems and almost a starvation? The one that you feed. Which one you're feeding? Are you feeding the angry and mean, or are you feeding the nicer? These are all your feelings. Are you feeding your nicer side or your anger side? Which one are you choosing? So that's how you can learn not to become so bitter. And the period of time, something that you were married to someone and was phenomenal, and then that person abandoned you for somebody else. And you keep thinking of that with anger. So you don't move on to find someone else that will really love you and will construct a new relationship. And you keep that anger towards that person that already said goodbye. I'm not going to make you happy. We need to learn how to move on. These are just some examples, but there are so many others. This is for food for thought. Then we can move on to the Spirit's book, and we are going to talk about the law of preservation. There are so many questions here that Kardec asked the spirits, but I do just a few of them, and I summarize the question, especially the answer. 712. Why has God attached an attraction to enjoyment of material things? The spirits answer, big answer, but summarizing, is to excite man to the accomplishment of his mission and try him by temptation. So if we don't like something, we don't pursue it. So we need to like something to go and do it. But when we do too much, that's what happened. Too much, the temptation of the too much. Do we need so much? So God already gives the temptation so we can use our free will to get more and more and more, or to say, that's good. I don't need more of that. Then the 713, has nature marked our proper limits of corporeal satisfaction? The spirits answer, yes. Limits that coincide with your needs and your well-being. The same thing we talked about before. Sugar is good. Sugar makes life beautiful. Too much sugar, problems solved the same. So let's think about that. What are your limits for your well-being? Here, typical scene of shopping centers, especially in Christmas time. And it's okay if we think the positive side. These ladies, they have a lot of kids, they have a lot of nephews and nieces, so they have to have a lot of gifts. As you can see here, they are gifts. But many times in America, what happens is that when one kid receives all those gifts, and I'm talking here by experience. When my son was very young, I bought him one gift, like happened to me when I was a child. I waited the whole year for that special gift. And in my case, was not a Barbie when I was young, because in Brazil didn't have Barbies, but we had Suzies. They were the Brazilian version of Barbies. And that for me was the best gift of the year. But then I moved to America, and then my husband's family, everybody American, so it was actually funny because in our home, the Christmas tree had like three boxes there, because it was one for each, me, my husband, and my son. And then the next day we went to my in-laws' house and had like a Christmas tree that was like insane. And I remember looking at like, and then all that for my son. I used to be like, oh my God. So of course they wanted him to have the craziness of opening the boxes, but when it's too much, they don't even connect with it. It was so many things that he was opening everything. Oh, fantastic! Oh, fantastic! Ah! And then me in the other side taking a lot of boxes and hiding, putting bags. Like, okay, this can be his birthday, can be Children's Day, and then I'm like hiding. And then my especially my mother-in-law, it's like, I was asked you, don't do so much, do a little bit. But, oh no, it's for happiness. Anyway, yes, he was super happy. But when it's too much, it's overwhelming. And when we from very little, we teach them that too much is good, how, when they become adults, we are going to say, you don't need so much. So these teachings have to come from little. So I always had to tell him that he doesn't need so much, and he could donate some of his toys. Of course, it was a very difficult conversation because he was like, why? And then it's like hard, but you have to teach them little by little, and then you have to show them reality. So that's why it's important to teach our kids that not every kid has the same reality. It's important to teach them that there are kids that struggle even to eat. Imagine to have a gift. So I always brought him to charitable activities, always brought him to see the tough reality. And then, thank God, nowadays he's 20 years old, and he is really, really a good example. And then another question, 714. What is to be thought of man who seeks artificial excesses? Think of him or her, as a poor wretch, who it is to be pitied rather than envied. So people that need so much to be happy, we have to feel sorry for them. And we have to understand our realities, because if you point fingers and think, oh, look, he's rich, he's doing that, that's not good either. Apply this for yourself. Do you need all that? And it's easy to talk, it's harder to do it. So we start doing it. What can you start diminishing in your life? What do you like so much? In my case, not even shoes, but hats. I love hats. Oh, I love hats. All colors, all shapes, or whatever. But then I started like, do I need one of each color? No. And then I started something that's called Give and Take, where a lot of people come to my house with a lot of donations, and each person has to bring 10 items. You donate 5, and you take 5 different ones if you want. All the excess that I have, I donate to the Florida Foundation of Breast Cancer. So it's a fun way that you can help a charitable activity that is so important, and you can also change items without spending money. It's free. So, have you purchased any of the items below? So, we have this is something common for us. We always talk like this: my body, my parents, my school, my Spiritist Center. Have you bought the Spiritist Center? No. Even if you were the main director of a Spiritist Center, you didn't buy it. And if you bought it, that's fantastic, a blessing, but you can't be there alone. You need to have people to help you. So it's our Spiritist Center. It's our family. So siblings, spouse, job, God, everything, it's ours. Even if we have this very common way to say, oh, my body, my. I am a guilty one. Me and my sister, we have this craziness that we cannot call our mom. We say, my mom, I'm talking to my sister. Understand this. Hey, how are you? Blah, 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 blah. How is my mom today? Well, my mom is good. It is crazy. Instead of saying, Mom, we have this. So lately, thank God, we are policing ourselves to say our mom. But many times we forget and we end up saying that. But anyway, police yourselves. And then we have to understand that all those items, they are temporary. Even our kids, they are temporarily. We borrow them. We ask the good spirits to have that child in that lifetime for as many years. And we have a job with our kids, especially. We have to teach them. We have to guide them. We have to be the good example. We all know when they are very little, the parents are everything. When they grow a little bit, the parents are like, annoying. And they want to hide from the parents. So we are heroes, and suddenly like, oh, can you pick up in the corner so, my friends are not going to see you? This is usually what preteens, teenagers, they say. But it's very good when you are able to teach them, understanding this is kind of normal. And when they become adults, they still develop that feeling that they want you, they love you. And even they can be having different ideas and don't think exactly like you think. They still feel proud of you and they want to join you. Lately, I have many groups. I have a lot of groups and groups of a lot of activities. And whenever I decide to do a trip, I invite a lot of people, and we have like 20, 30 people traveling together. It's wild. And lately, my son came to me and said, Mom, when we will be able to travel, me and you? I was like, what? What are you talking about? Yes, me and you, because, every time I have an idea and I tell you what place I want to go, you're like, oh, fantastic, yes. And when I see we have 10 people with us, I was like, well, I thought it was good. We share good things with our friends. And he's like, yeah, I know, but I want to have a 101. I was like, and my friends were with us because he was telling this in purpose for them to hear. Probably for them, when I invite them, they say, oh, maybe Jensen wants to go with you alone. And then my friend's like, wow, I haven't heard something like that in years. And I'm like, me neither. But anyway, So now I'm like thinking, okay, I have to organize something to be just with him. And what is a blessing? This is not very common, but okay. Our dear brother Jesus. So Jesus taught us our Father's prayer. It's not my Father's prayer, it's our Father's prayer. So this beautiful prayer, that was the only prayer Jesus taught us, talks about so many things, but about the sharing. It's our Father, equality, forgiveness. It's so beautiful when we think. So this is our big example. Jesus is our big example. So it's so difficult to follow all his steps, all his teachings at the time, especially when we get angry, but we have always to think and understand, yes, I can, even if I can do a little bit. I cannot do an immediate forgiveness as some people are able to do it, but we can start the process of forgiveness. So we have to start forgiving the little things, because when we are able to forgive the little things, we are building up strength to forgive the big things. Like that annoying neighbor that sometimes tell you certain things you don't like. You're like, he's not doing good today. Or especially one thing that drives me crazy is that I see someone, I'm already, good morning, how are you? And the person, I'm like, okay, tomorrow I try again. And then another, hey, good morning, hi, I'm here. And I was able to do this with a neighbor until she was so annoyed that she was like, good morning. I'm like, I made it. But the majority, what we do, I'm like, I can't stand that woman. I'm not going to talk to her. So you are giving back what you're receiving. Nothing's going to change. Even if she answered me annoyed because she's like, oh my God, that crazy woman again, she answered, and then she will remember me in a little bit positive way. At least I said good morning. This is a super cute book, very small, it's not a spiritist. The name is Simplify Your Life, and it is really good. It gives you so many steps to simplify your life in so many ways. Relationship, your clothes, things that you get too much, and it's very step by step. And because of it, this book is that I really understood, I don't need 50 hats, I can have less. And I'm just giving an example of one thing that I have a lot and I really love, but we can have so many other things, and it helps us a lot. Here are important examples of detachment. All of them. I had so many examples, and I decided to put just 6, just for us to think about. The 2 first ones, they are Brazilians. You're in the Spiritist Center, you have heard of the Brazilian medium Chico Xavier. He was extremely sick most of his life, but he was always a positive and loving person. And his sentence was like this: I'm fine, but my body's sick. I'm fine. His mind was fine, but his body was full of issues. And Madre Teresa, let's talk about Sister Dulce from Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. So she only had 30% of lung capacity. She never stopped working. Her mind was stronger than her body. And that is very funny because a lot of people that met Sister Dulce said every time they went to visit her, her bed was so bad, was like kind of broken. And they're like, Madre Teresa, but what's happened? How can you sleep in a bed like that? And she's like, yeah, it's so sad, but I have no money. I have no money, so I live here and it's fine. Oh no, I'm gonna give you a new bed. And like this, she collected 300 beds because every time someone went there, gave her a bed. And of course, she was always asking for so many other things, but this was a little extra that she donated from herself to be able to help other people. And we have Mother Teresa, we have Gandhi, Dalai Lama, Martin Luther King, history of all of them. I'm just conscious of the time because I talk too much. But Gandhi, for example, he was so detached from everything, everything. And one day he was invited to go to England, and the King George V told his assessors, take him, buy whatever he wants. They went to the market, and he was marveled with everything. He's a very humble man. Even if he was a lawyer, but he was very humble, and he was living with very, very little. And then he saw this very exotic bird, and he was mesmerized. He had never seen it. Like, oh, this is so beautiful. And then the man said, okay, we are buying this for you. We can prepare and bring this to your country. And then he said, look at his answer. He said, this bird deserves freedom, not a cage. And this is more or less with everything, you know. Many times in Brazil, I remember seeing beautiful little birds in cages. This was a costume from the past. I hope nowadays it's not like this anymore. In Rio, we went to special squares, and they had lots of little birds in little cages singing beautifully since very little. I used to cry so much because that's his house forever. If you open, flies away. And then they used to say if he flies away, he will die because he doesn't know how to eat for himself. This was like painful. So he understood that too. So these are just a few examples for us that we can, yes, we see like, wow, this is so far away from my reality, but we all can do a little bit. We can have them as examples and help us to improve a little bit. Now we're going to talk about the law of destruction. Very difficult law. And every time I mention this, people are like, oh, I don't agree with it. This is crazy. How God wants this. We can follow what the spirits told us. So in the Spirit's book, question 7 to 8. Is destruction a law of nature? Long answer, but I just summarized. It is only a transformation, the aim of which is renewing and improving living beings. So when you see this picture, it's a big transformation, painful transformation. It is a destruction of a location, and it's a destruction also of the bodies of people who lived there. Why God did that? We don't know. We don't know why God did that. But if it happened, it's because it was necessary. We understand also that sometimes certain things were happening in that location, and the spirits were reincarnating there many times, and they were not transforming themselves. They returned with the same strong idea, usually a negative idea, doing things that were not good and not improving and not evolving. So this was necessary to destroy the place, to change the minds. So now the survivors, what the survivors will be doing? They will be trying to reconstruct. If they had 100 hats, now these hats are not important. They disappeared. Now they have to fetch for food. They have to help their society to build not only their houses, but hospitals, but schools. They have to work. Even if they don't want it, now it's time to work. It's time to think about everybody, not just about yourselves. And this time also is the time that others that might not be connected to that become very touched. That's what we were talking about, a flood that happened in Brazil and destroyed so many homes and destroyed so many cities, and everybody around Brazil was helping so much. And we here in Miami, we decided to help too. And we collected donations, and we got so many donations. We had a container full to ship to Brazil. So Nobody is rich, but we all could do a little bit. And when many people do a little bit together, we can do a lot. So this is a blessing. So this is another point of the law of destruction. The question 737. What is God's purpose in visiting mankind with destructive calamities? To make man advance faster. You judge from your personal point of view, but such upsettings are needed for your fast improvement. Instead of centuries, it make you take a few years to advance. Advancing certain points. I'm not talking about advancing everything, because we know we need many reincarnations to be able to improve. And we need to improve in morality and intellectual. So we need to improve in both. So we will improve every reincarnation in certain things. But sometimes when we go through pain, then we are like, we get out of our shell, and you extend your hand to someone that you might not have ever thought about if you were not exposed to such a hard time. And the last one, 799. How can spiritism contribute to progress? By destroying materialism. That's the main thing. And what is materialism? Many things, but the future life being no longer veiled by doubt. You understand there will be another life. After this physical body, you will return in another physical body. As a baby, not like some of my American friends understand that like a movie past that you end up going the body of somebody else. No, this is a terror movie, horror movie. No, in your own, and you also don't come back as animals. They always think, oh, you can be, I think the dog of my daughter is actually my father. I'm like, oh my God, why? No, we don't come back like this. Spiritism always saying that we are always progressing. So if we are human being, we are going to come back as a human being. So continue here. Men will understand that their future happiness is based in their present action. So whatever you are doing here will have effects in this lifetime or maybe in the next lifetime. So it's better for us to make amends with our enemies. Nowadays, it's hard to people have enemies, but they have people that they don't like. There's something that we don't like. But we can understand that when you do good, you receive good. And the contrary, the same. So it's better to do good. So you are building up a happier future. If not in this life, in the future one. And in the end, by destroying prejudice of everything, anything, it teaches man that large solidarity then one day unite men as brothers and sisters. That's what we're talking in Spiritism. We have this here is our family. You guys are our family, our spiritual family. And that's why it's so important when someone is going through a problem, there is fraternal counseling. You can go to the center, talk to someone, they're going to guide you. And this spiritual family gets together to help. So many cases I have seen that the person don't have a family here, but the Spiritist Center or their own churches, other beliefs, they get together to help. Science also discovered that the people that have a belief, a spiritual belief, or they follow some kind of religion, they get less sick. Isn't that awesome? If you can get less sick, woo, let's use it. So when you are able to focus in something much bigger than you, you are not focused on your problems. When they come to our center and, oh, my life is like this, I don't have a job, I love my daughter hates me, it's a lot. Sometimes you feel so bad for the person, you don't even know what to say. And then what I usually say is like, we all have problems. Some people have bigger problems than others. But when you focus on the problem of someone else, your problems become less. less, smaller. Oh, impossible. I'm like, no, everything is possible. We want to take the step or not. Oh, but how can I do it? Listen, we have a lot of charitable activities here. You should join some of them. We have one that every month we go to feed the homeless in downtown Miami. Come. Oh, no, I don't know how to cook. I don't know. These people are weird. I'm like, really? That's a problem. And I said, face your difficulties and join us. You're not going by yourself. We are 10 people. Join us. When they take the step to do it, they start their process of transformation. Of course, everything has to be a full pack. It's not just that. They are invited to understand the spiritism. They are invited to understand especially the gospel according to spiritism. That helps us to start the forgiveness problem, that stops changing us, the thoughts, the meetings together. You ask questions. It's so important. There are many things you can do. Passes, the healing passes. It's really a therapy that changes us. You cannot see the energy that comes from the past givers, but remember Jesus. In the Bible, the pictures, the drawings, he was always imposing his hands, donating good fluid. So it's a process to change. We have another amazing example here. So a woman was in love with him. He never wanted anything with her. But then one day she got pregnant. She told her family he did that. The family got angry when then dropped the child and said, now you take care of your kid. He was like, didn't say anything, but he accepted the baby as a gift from God. Took care of the baby for a few years, struggling because they live a life with nothing. And then one day, past a few years, the family discovered the real father. They returned and they took the baby out of him. And again, he accepted it peacefully. My goodness. Can you do that? Very hard. But this is an example that can be done. Of course, this is an extreme example, but think about other things. Think about when you help a friend that's struggling, it's with very hard times, and you help a friend and this person is able to do it, and then some time pass, you ask help for the same friend, and they say, no, I don't think I can do that, no way. And then you feel so hurt, and it's so terrible, but we shouldn't think like that. We shouldn't think like that. We have to be, okay, unfortunately, this person cannot help me, but this is not going to make me angry with her or him. I will move on. And God provides when we are struggling and we have merit and we work towards it, another answer will come. When one door closes, two windows open. The thing is that we want to be like immediately. The door closed today, we want tomorrow the windows to be open. And sometimes it's not like that. We have to develop patience, resilience, faith, and it will happen in the time of God. Sometimes we need to struggle for a time to be able to overcome certain situations. So we learn. And we have Socrates, beautiful. Not beautiful physically, but every teaching was so powerful. So this story of know thyself. So the Oracle of Delphi told everybody in the city, he is the wisest man in Greece. And then Socrates said, one thing I know is that I know nothing. Very famous sentence. Long story, Socrates, in that time, he was teaching in the public square. He taught all the bright young minds. And he also talked a lot about the state. And he talked about many things that shouldn't be acceptable, but were happening. Then, what happened? He got a lot of accusers, and they were accusing him of corrupting the youth and impiety to the state. Because he was a philosopher, there was this law that you can sentence yourself. And what was his punishment? Donate one rooster to the temple, and he even told Plato, his student, to do that. Then his accusers got extremely angry because they said he is joking. He's not going to do that. And then they sentenced him to death. And he had to drink cicuta or hemlock. Then his poor wife, Shantip, she was saying, death! Oh no! Such an unjust sentence. And then Socrates said, of course! Would you like to be a just one? This was like his way of thinking, his personality. I'm like, hey. But then Socrates had enemies, but he also had a lot of friends, a lot of powerful people that really understood him. And these powerful people didn't want him to die. So they paid the guards, and the guards left the doors of the prison free, open, so he could escape. So they told him, tonight you will be a free man. There will be a horse waiting for you. You can travel far away. Nobody's going to ever catch you. And Socrates just said, escape from this, but not from myself. I can't stop telling the truth. Meaning, he was going to go somewhere else, and he was going to do the same thing. Again, he was not going to be accepted. Again, he was not going to be understood, and he probably would die again. So these bright minds that have this detachment even from their physical bodies, they understand after this there will be something else, and there may be much, much better. So examples for us to understand. Another funny story is Raul Teixeira, a Brazilian medium, very famous. So when he was young, he was a professor at a university in Niterói, Rio, Brazil. And he was the head of the confusion. They were having like protests for better salaries, better continues, and he was the head. He organized, he was organizing a strike. And then when he's like with all the people, and they're like, yeah, you're gonna do this, this, and this. And then he mentions that from far away, he saw his mentor walking towards him. And he said he was like talking to the people here, and he saw, and he kind of froze. And then the mentor came. His mentor is called Camilo. And Camilo asked him, why are you complaining? God gave you a voice to use with a different purpose. In your past life, you did not work, and this time you will, and for very little money. So he said when he heard that, he got frozen, and he didn't know what to do. And he was like, little by little, he mentioned that he started mingling with the people, and then he left, and he accepted whatever was the situation. So I'm not saying that every single protest is bad, because we know peaceful ones, they are really good, as the examples of people that we gave in the past, Gandhi and Martin Luther King, they advocated for very important causes. But in this particular case, he needed to go through that. So he understood it. And here we have a picture of our adorable Divaldo Franco and Raul Teixeira. They are very, very famous Brazilian mediums. And we are finalizing. So here, consequences of our actions. This is food for thought. So, we were hurt, but we cannot forgive. We hurt someone else, but we rationalize the error and we think we were right. We are not helping anyone. We don't even feel the remorse. But later on, we feel guilty. We feel guilty feelings within us. And the guilty feelings, they can materialize in our physical body as diseases. Many different types of diseases. One of the very famous one is depression. I'm not saying that because of this people get depressed, because we know there are many different causes for depressions, but this is one of the causes that could develop depression and many other diseases in our physical body. So this is for us to think. Let's rethink. Let's detach from this. If we were hurt, it's okay. You hurt somebody else also. Maybe not such a big hurt, but maybe you did something else. Think. We are no angels. If we are here in this lifetime, it's because we need to learn. Nobody is here because, I end up here as a missionary. There are missionaries, but these are the big ones that I showed before. When we are still struggling with our little private problems, we are missionaries with our own family. So what can you do to improve from feeling hurt, from hurting someone else and thinking it's fine, and someone is struggling, you don't do anything at all, and you think, oh, that's it, I can't hurt, I can't help. Nowadays, the power of internet is so amazing, so amazing. We don't even need to do physically something. Like if you have a computer, you can even go to GoFundMe and create a cause to help someone. And you can help. You can, as I always say, together we are stronger. We can be together and develop to a cause. There are so many causes, even animal shelters. Unfortunately, during the COVID, a lot of people bought animals, adopted animals. Then the whole life changed. Rent is really expensive. A lot of people are moving out. A lot of owners don't accept the animals. What people do? They are throwing the animals on the streets. Near my house, we have a very big dog park. Every week, there is an animal that was abandoned there. Because a lot of animals, people go inside, then they leave. When the last person leaves, there is a dog. Where is the owner? No owner. Anyway, there are so many causes that we can embrace, help, and we help others, and we help ourselves as well. And we are here in Miami. Look at this. Most of the year, this is the situation. When I lived in New York, I dreamed of going to Miami as a vacation, especially in the wonderful months of winter, where snow is with us so many days. And even when we don't have snow, we have that frigid wind that, it's so hard. But we are here. So if you're not feeling good, you don't need to do much. You can just go to the beach, walk a little bit on the sand, go in the water, sit down, close your eyes. You know, Beethoven, he loved the moon. I love the sun. Lay down, take a little bit of sun, go to a park. There are so many parks. Walk in the beautiful grass, sit under a palm tree, reflect. What can I do today to be better tomorrow? What little step can I do? And there are little things here that help us how to detach. So we can live with less. We can focus on what really matters. We all commit mistakes. We are no angels. Try not to judge others. We judge. It's so easy to judge, but do you like to be judged? Practice charity. Everything is temporary, even our physical body. And love more. When we are able to love others, life is so much easier, so much more beautiful. And I want to give this little video, it's less than 2 minutes, and talks about the life of this amazing man, Sir Nicholas Winton. And he was an Englishman. He's super famous. He died as 106 years old. He's dead for some time. When he was 28 years old, 28, he understood the Nazi were going to be killing people. He flew from England to Czech Republic. And it's an amazing story. He created a fake charitable company to bring kids from Czech Republic, cross Germany by train with the okay from them and go to London. So let's just see. Hopefully the sound will be good.
He was a modest sort of hero, 105 when the Czech Republic awarded him its highest honour last year, watched by some of those he'd helped to save. He'd been 92 when Britain knighted him, but he was just 28, a stockbroker planning a skiing holiday when a friend suggested he go to Prague. The Nazis had invaded Czechoslovakia. The capital was full of refugees. Nicholas Winton helped organise trains to take Jewish children to safety, the Kindertransport they were called, and found them homes in Britain.
Somebody wrote and said they wanted a girl of 7. We sent them a picture of 7 girls of about 7 and said, choose one. Not the kind of way one would normally transact human, but it worked very well. It was quick.
Suzanne Medas was one of those he saved. She reached London 76 years ago today. Her rescuer has been called the British Schindler.
There's no comparison between Oskar Schindler, who, albeit saved some Jews because he employed them in his factory, but he also made money out of them. Let's face it, that's the truth. Nicholas Winton had no ulterior motive.
And I should tell you that you are actually sitting next to Nicholas Winton.
Recognition came late. In 1988, the TV programme That's Life reunited him with some of those he'd helped save. He'd kept quiet about what he'd done until his wife found a scrapbook in their loft. But even Nicholas Winton couldn't help everyone. 8 Kindertransport trains left Prague. A 9th was stopped the day war was declared. All 250 on board later vanished.
Well, and with this I finish, and it is beautiful for us to see that, you know, a young man, 28, did so much for unknown children, and for 50 years, 50, he hid. He said he didn't hid. He said he just put the book with the kids' information, letters, everything in the basement because it was already done. Now there was more to done in the future. His wife was mesmerized, and their wife is the one who did that. And there are many videos you can see about him when the special TV programs created with the survivors because they were already very old. And was his children. It is so touching, so touching. So if he did that, we can do a little bit as well. Thank you, my friends.
Thank you so much, Angela.